We've totally whitewashed Christmas. We see Christmas cards that are full of glitter and perfectly happy families and little bouncing babies, and that's not the picture the Bible paints. You've got a despotic tyrant who is obsessed with murdering all the children. You've got teenage pregnancy. You've got, quite frankly, shamanic astrologers. They're not these kind of wise old kings of Orient are. Then you've got the filthy shepherds who wouldn't even have been allowed in the temple to worship alongside everyone else. They were total outcasts of society. And then you look at the person of Jesus, who was conceived out of wedlock. I mean, that is extreme. He was born to a teenage mum. He was very likely born surrounded by filthy animals and certainly a ragtag bunch of total weirdos. That's the Jesus at the heart of the Christmas stories. We don't see that painted in our Christmas cards. One of the things I love is if you look at the genealogy of Jesus at the beginning of Matthew, there's 4 women mentioned in the genealogy, which I love that women are mentioned because that's actually really countercultural at the time anyway. But the 4 women that are mentioned, I mean, messy would be a polite way of putting some of their lives, potentially scandalous, and yet that is included in Jesus's ancestry. And I think that says something, that God includes the lives of these women who were, at the hands of other people, were destroyed and managed to overcome this incredible grief. And that is at the heart of the Christmas story, that God chose to include these women in his own narrative, in his own ancestry. If that doesn't give us hope at Christmas, I don't know what does. There is so much darkness and grittiness and realness about the Christmas story, and actually that's where most of our lives are, and that I think speaks really powerfully to us. C.S. Lewis talked about the incarnation as this really dangerous descent from a diver into this deep, deep pool to try and find a jewel in the darkness, and he pulls it out, and the journey down is so dangerous, the descent into the water is dangerous, but he thought the jewel was totally worth it. And that to me is like a beautiful depiction of the incarnation of God, the Word made flesh, that he came into the world, and it was a dangerous descent, and he chose not to be born in a glittery palace, but to be born in a dodgy part of town, in a fairly scummy building, or not even a building, because he thought we were worth it. And that John 1:14, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. He didn't stay distant, he came into the mess. Emmanuel, God with us.